and 1 and 2 and 3
and 4 and 5 and 6. Yes.
and we are alive.
Oh.
Yes, we
lovely.
are. Thanks for watching us. Hopefully every week.
Yeah.
At least the numbers go up.
You
every
better.
week.
You better watch us every week. Yeah.
So we have 2 things on the agenda today. First of all, to give you an update of where we are with the development, and second of all, to talk about the minerals of Rund, as well as different plants and
alchemical resources, basically.
Yeah, creature-based ingredients. Okay. So last week we started with the first play testing, and we took 11 people from different countries and gave them the access to the game. They've played. Most of them gave great feedback. Not
super positive feedback.
Not really. It was really useful feedback because some of them described the overall player experience, which was very important for us. We're good at fixing small things, but we needed this confirmation of certain specific issues with being confused or getting stuck somewhere that made us revisit the concept of the game.
The whole big picture, basically.
And think back to 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 2
years ago.
2 years ago when we started with this arm. And we said, look, did we get lost? Yeah, we did get lost. So we went back to the drawing board and we said, what sort of games do we have right now versus what sort of game did we set out to make?
Yeah.
And that was like this.
The result is not as something that as we expected, basically. It's
and as we develop this, I will not tell you the same story I told on the Russian language stream.
Yeah, better learn your Russian. There were so many feels. Yes.
It included some
emotional paper cutting with scissors.
Alcoholic stories.
Alcoholic stories.
I mean, we're not alcoholic.
That's a very good story, though.
Okay, so here's
a
story for you then. One time, a long time ago, when I lived in Moscow, Russian Federation.
Long ago.
It was a long time. It was like 10 years ago. I had a friend who's a very nice guy. He's still a very nice guy. Yeah. And he told me this story that he worked a lot. He worked in the games industry, but he was really like working from, I don't know, 8 in the morning until 1 p.m. 1 in a.m.
Very stressful hours, yeah. On
his way home, he lived alone, and he would just want to distress. So he would go into the shop and get a bottle of vodka.
Yeah.
And now some Russians drink vodka. I don't, but I know that like it's a hard drink, right?
Just to relieve stress.
So think of a bottle of, I don't know, whiskey. And he would come home and pour him some and sort of, calm down and drift to sleep.
Just, it's not a regular drink. It's just a drink right now. I was working so hard. It's just a rare occasion,
And so then, he would wake up next morning and go to the office. And then one day he needed to clean the apartment. He had some extra time, I don't know, public holiday. So he took off the curtains and he saw that on his window there's a battery of, I don't know, 30 bottles of vodka. Each has a bit left. But still, he had to face the fact that he drank so heavily, so much, that he didn't even notice it.
He couldn't believe it. He basically drank all the drink, probably got drunk, put it away somewhere.
And
fell asleep, and then the next morning
you don't really go and look at this, right? And when he saw that, he quit drinking altogether, and since then that was a long time ago.
It's like opening a closet full of skeletons, basically.
So the same thing happened with us.
We're alcoholics, but we're getting treatment.
Metaphorically speaking, we did a lot of mechanics, thinking that this will really be well in the late game or in mid game, or this will really work well with this. We don't have this yet, but this will really go handy with this. So we're like this chef who prepares a very, very elaborate sauce for the dish, but the dish is not ready yet. And then
just thinking about like the chives, the tomatoes from the sauce, but like we don't really have anything to put the sauce on, basically.
And so our problem is that we got self-intoxicated with designing elaborate details in the mechanics, and we forgot that simple is good and complex is not always good. Very often is bad.
It's basically a good to have like a nice stable base to build on to. You know, we sort of lost our identity. We can say that.
Yeah. So we have the biggest crisis in the whole development of the game.
Everyone
since
is
we
screaming.
Started.
There's fire everywhere.
Except for her,
I came back from 1 week's holiday, all shining and ready to do some work, and like, everyone is like super mean, screaming at each other, being upset.
Why you're so happy? Like why you're not like screaming? Yeah.
Why are you not stressed? How dare you?
Anyway, now she's back in the mood. Like now she's also on the same.
I'm as gloomy as ever. Yes, everything is horrible.
So the good news and the bad news. Basically, I'll give you another example. Right now, the healing system on the paper looks great. You contact the disease. It manifests itself through some symptoms that start to happen a few days later, so there's no direct connection. So maybe you don't really know what hit you. Then you go back with those symptoms into the hospital. A doctor diagnoses you, and the doctor says, you have
sorcerer's
migraine or this red hanger thing that kind of makes you lose your breath. Diagnosed. But then you try to treat this illness and you don't know how, because that illness is 2 levels up. So you have to go and research it. And once you research it, you say, okay, to treat it, I need Dead Man's Potion. But you don't know how to make one. So you go into the alchemy research tree and you research for this. And then you discover the recipe. And the recipe says you need corrosive, poisonous, and I don't know, greasy. So you know where to get greasy, but you don't know where to get corrosive.
No, you get like awesome. And it's like, oh, I don't have these ingredients.
And you don't even know if it's in a mineral, if it's in a plant, if it's in a creature. So you go and explore the world, and finally you find those things. And then
you don't even know what ingredients to search for. You just know that I need these alchemical properties. But who knows in what ingredients can they reside, basically.
And so once you finally find them and you forage them and you bring them home and you find an alchemist who goes through a skill check preparing this concoction and finally get the potion to cure yourself,
or your friend.
Patient is dead.
Yeah.
And it took you 3 months to fix that. And we're like, we don't really care about multiple symptoms happening at different times depending on the character stats. That's bullshit. Because we cannot close this loop fast enough. What we have to do is, you fall sick, you get diagnosed, you get cured. It's all within the reach. It's a part of the whole management thing.
Sickness shouldn't be the whole point of the game, basically.
A quest from the chatter, Steam screenshot up to date. The screenshots on Steam are up to 2017.
Back in 2017.
You can take a look at the previous stream or the one before, and you'll see the actual game. There's a video called Basics. So basically, this is how the game looked 2 weeks ago. If you would like to take a look at the actual game, then the next big stream will show you the current state of the game. We made a lot of changes, and let's say on Steam, what you see on Steam is a kind of a high concept, and I think we really progressed, and things look better now to me. So what we did outside of
simpler times,
healing and all the rest of different complicated mechanics, is we decided to cut all the complexity and leave simple systems that work with each other very well. And we sat down to define what the game is really about.
We are rethinking our identity all over again. Not all over again, basically coming back to basics. Because at the end of the day, this is what our game was supposed to be about until we went into details.
One thing that we are kind of good on is a large, original, dangerous world that you experience through events.
Like we always talked about how we wanted you to experience an original world of Rund, how we're trying to create all these creatures and plants that you're going to see later on, and the lands that you're going to visit, and not worry about collecting mushrooms and berries.
And in the end, what you do right now is you collect the berries, you hunt the rabbits, you launder wood, you look for clay. You like
for days and days on end.
We've built a seam of a medieval village, it seems. So not really the Spire of Sorcery. It's a Spire of Foraging. And so what's changing here is that we have to basically at the meeting this morning we said in this dangerous world no one ever attacks my spire. What about some aggressive non-humans who will come knocking and just smash my doors? Oh yeah, we have those, just didn't do them. Okay, how about we do them? So all of the events, we have lots of events around bees and snakes and hornets and whatever, but what about the real exciting stuff? Oh yeah, sure. So last night we stayed up until late and we did some events that involve talking heads and whispering forests and this and that, and that felt like what we wanted to do 2 years ago.
Adding the meat to the game of the magical, more interesting world, basically. When we had events of regular insects, maybe we should add like fictional, more dangerous insects that will crawl under your skin or something.
The second point is, on which we agree, is that magic is your superpower. This is a game about magic. And so we felt we were lacking this. Like, what sort of magic can you do in the Spire?
Create a porridge that will kill you.
Yeah.
Spire of Sorcery, everyone! Yeah!
Who said there's no magic? There is magic, yeah.
Yes.
And you have to survive by not making this spell.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're throwing in, I don't know, about 100 of spells that we forgot to do before.
Like, there was a list of spells. Tons of spells, tons of levels. We have like even concepts of how the icons will look like, but sort of like, let's brush them away. Let's talk about collecting mushrooms and wood.
We got lost in this like kind of the management part of the game. And so what we have right now is bringing back lots of magic from automated foraging and mining of certain things to
You're
portals.
a magician, goddammit. Yeah.
Even today we discussed a spell that allows you to evacuate the whole party back to the Spire. It's a very expensive spell, but it should be available. So you're able to do this if you want to save them.
Allegedly, we'll have this. But who knows?
If you speak English, obviously you do, you can go to the website of the game, spiresorcery.com/forum, and there is an early access forum open to everyone where you can read after action reports of the people who played the game last week.
Accounts, the first accounts of
and
playing
there's a
Spires.
couple, maybe 3 accounts that are really good at summarizing the current state of the game. What is good and what is not.
They just posted the picture of the dog sitting in the burning room, right?
Nah, not really. Okay. But I liked one of the guys who wrote basically at the end of the campaign I realized that magic energy has no use, and that's true. It was disbalanced.
That's such a hard rig, though. It's
disbalanced all the way. So we're rebalancing this. Now the second point was the hardest. Initially we said our disciples must have personalities, otherwise they're just units. We have origins, we have portraits, we have so many unique stuff. But one thing we've done is we've thrown in a psychological scale. So right now, going from the next build onwards, every disciple will have at least three of the 6 possible settings, which is curious, cautious, brave, cruel, compassionate.
Careful, I guess, if there's brave.
No. So basically, it works like this. You can be greedy, or you will be not greedy. There's nothing opposite. Like
there's no
I don't know what's the opposite of greedy, but it doesn't exist, right? So either you're greedy or not. Either you're a curious or you're not. You can be a risk taker or you can be a very careful person. So there is the opposite.
Yeah.
And then you can be and that's the like basically the bravery is structured like this.
You can be basically brave and cruel
And curious.
and curious.
And we use this
yeah.
for decision
Making
making.
combos. 3. You said 3, yeah? We
3
take,
out of 6.
yeah.
3 out
Every
of 6.
person
Yeah.
will have 3 out of 6 of these.
At least. Yeah.
yeah.
And so what's going to happen is we are tying this into the decision system in the events. There is
Yeah.
no longer any random things. And if you find loot protected by a trap and you're greedy and you're not cautious, but let's say there's a 0 there, right? So
Yeah.
you go for it. But maybe you hear something and you're curious, but you're also very careful. And so you're not pursuing that and you're backing
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And we want disciples run back to the spire if they get scared. And we want people basically abandon their parties and all that stuff.
Just making their personalities, I guess, simple to
Shine.
understand.
Yeah.
And to manage as well, to understand what disciples should I put on the mission, what disciples should stay in the spire and maybe take care of other disciples and stuff. It's easier to understand.
There's a lot of stats
basically.
and skills and interest levels that goes into character efficiency, which defines your skill check.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also mood, and we're untying the mood from that because we have too many loops going into the same thing. And if you look at the board, there's like 11 ways to influence your current efficiency, which is way too much because you end up not understanding why the hell this happened.
Yeah.
And we're removing all like unnecessary stuff. Like the books could downgrade your mood if they were about an unpleasant topic or written by an inquisition. That's gone. We haven't seen any value in this because you could not control it. You could not say, don't read this book, read this book. Because if you could, then that's micromanagement. And we don't want to do micromanagement game. And so we redefined the third and final part of the game as management your spire, resources, knowledge trees, and disciples with their personalities. So that's it. Like we now admit that our game is about managing your spire in a large, dangerous, and original world, using your magic as a superpower to reach the final goal. It took us a day to get this. We went through so many different options, you know.
Well, basically, it was always there. It's just sometimes hard to put to words, I suppose, to make like
illusions. There's a lot of illusions that we have where we say, oh, you know, when this happens in the game, when we will have this and this, it'll be fine. And we say we you know, we're launching in a few weeks. We're not really, you know, doing it in 2 years, and we're not even sure. So if it's not fun right now, it probably will not be fun in 6 months when you do another iteration. A simple system should be fun, and then you can enhance it. So we're taking away all the complexity, and then we may bring back something. Like today, we just cut out the ancient language as a proficiency.
Yeah, for all the fans of ancient languages, we're very sorry.
Could do it through check on literacy skill. Why should we, on top of the literacy skill, do a proficiency with a unique mechanic which prevents you from reading books? Why? I mean,
it's too complicated.
We've made so many
decisions
where we've just done stuff without asking ourselves if it's really necessary. So, oh my God, if you're still with us, and God bless yourself, there's six other things we wrote down for us on the basis of this playtest.
Yeah.
And one is that we want to prevent dead ends, and we don't want players to go into an experience that is going to be bad for them. We know that if you send a lone person to the death flower tree, that person is likely to die. So we don't want the player to discover it. We want to say, hey, very dangerous, could end very badly. Do you still want to do it? And most people will say, oh, okay, you know, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe I should.
Same with the suggestion box, we want to empower players to make smart and fast decisions, and that means that if there is some information somewhere in the game, it should be right there, visible in front of your eyes. So if someone is sick, you should see she is sick with this illness, which requires this treatment, which I don't have at the warehouse, but I know how to make. So you can just go out and make. You shouldn't go here and say, oh, she's sick with this. Aha, what is this about? Aha, it needs this. Okay, do I have this? Aha. So like putting everything together, because it's a computer game. That's what, you know, computer games are good at, putting everything together. And then we used to design stuff just for the on the mechanical side. Like this works beautifully as a simulation in my brain.
Yeah.
But unless we can show it through the user interface, we don't think we should do it.
Yeah, it should be practical and.
If a book gives you a bad mood, but you don't see this indicated anywhere, it just happens to you.
Yeah.
What's the point? I mean,
at some point you will figure it out, and even then you don't really know if it's a fact or if it's something that you think that is happening.
Yeah.
Basically,
and
there shouldn't
how
be any guesses. It should be clear what is doing what.
We
basically.
understood this by doing a skill check. So every time right now you do carry some action, there is a skill check, and you can see why. And so you see that you've met a snake. She's a the snake is a level 3 danger. Your astrology is level 3, but your efficiency is low because you're hungry.
Tired,
so you have a low
well,
chance of success. Boom, failed, and then you understand it. And then we think that the world is tough and dangerous, but it shouldn't be difficult for you to start playing, and it shouldn't be very boring or mundane. We don't really want to make a medieval sim. And then we really hate micromanagement, so we want to cut that away. And whenever we hit micromanagement ideas, we think, okay, that's a mistake. Let's go back. Why are we micromanaging? Give this food to this guy. We shouldn't be doing it. And then, making it personal. Anyway.
That's for the introduction.
For those 3 people who are still watching us, including all my 3 friends.
for our 2 mothers that are watching and being good job.
And now we go to the World of Ruin, which is all right and which is fine. And basically, before we jump there, what's going to happen is next week we are deploying a much changed build that will already have a bunch of changes and things removed as we progress to a better and more authentic version of the game that we intend to ship as soon as we can, because we also got bored with waiting. We're sitting on the game for so long, and then we launched it to these 10 players, and they played it, and it's been all right. It's not the greatest game they have seen, but we felt like this is already overdue, and we should get more people to play and give us feedback, because all that feedback was great, and it helped us a lot to crystallize the things that we had in mind. So now let's talk about the good stuff.
Yay! The stuff that doesn't change at the moment.
The stuff that will be in the game anyway.
Allegedly.
Absolutely. Most of that, yeah. So
yeah, you don't have to zoom in actually, because we'll just basically go through alchemical ingredients, such as if you go
creature-based stuff, minerals,
and
plants.
Yeah, just zoom out to 100%, because creature-based ingredients, we sort of touched upon them on the last stream. We talked about creatures of Rund.
Yeah.
So overall, you find a creature, you most likely have to kill it and tear a piece of it for yourself for alchemy. So when it comes to Tusluke, you get its fat, Stinktail, you get its poison wing, and Earthleech, you get its saliva, and etc. etc.
All of these have different events connected to them, and that's one of the things that we're working on right now, is adding that meat, adding encounters and challenges and difficulties that you face when you're trying to collect these ingredients, and then balancing that all out.
Yes. So next thing that we're gonna quickly talk about is minerals. You can mine minerals, and most of these minerals are minerals you can find on Earth in our world, which is like rock, silver, gold, opal,
and
lead,
sapphires, and marble,
malachite,
and diamonds, and rubies, and whatnot.
Yeah, you can make all sorts of stuff out of them. You can make weapons.
They have alchemic properties, and based on the properties,
alchemy, yes. And usually they're found in hills, actually, or caves.
That's a part of the management of resources, that you need certain resources to make certain items. You find these resources in different parts of the world. To break through to them and to access them and to collect them, you need to pass certain challenges. So be good at challenges, collect different stuff, and then make good stuff from that in the Spire.
Yes. So, but together with all these mundane minerals, we have minerals exclusive to our world. And some of them are black dew and hot ice, which we can find in black pools. It's a very creepy place in the distorted lands. And as you said, one of the players had to.
So what
find
happened
them.
this week is that
Yeah.
the players who played the game, they had to complete a minor campaign, which is creating a potion of life, not the elixir
Yeah.
of youth. And when we set that out, we said, hey, it's a pretty easy thing, right? It's like it's got a couple of uncommon ingredients, and one ingredient is rare, but not very rare, just rare. And so that person could not complete that by the 500 days of campaign.
Whoa.
And he wrote, you know, one of those ingredients that I really need was only available in black dew and hot ice, and I couldn't level up enough to access them and collect them.
That is sad.
So that's also a bit of a problem with the balancing of the world that we're redoing this week.
Yes. So black dew you get from the plants of the tree. Basically, it settles on the plants. It's in the air, but you can get it from there, and you can get it from the pools. You can only get it from the plants. that are in
Very rare
black pools.
ingredients, super late game.
Yes, super late game. So, a part of the game we're going to talk about more extensively today is the plant-based ingredients. So we have two parts. We have plant-based ingredients that we can find in our world, and plant-based ingredients that are available exclusively to Rund.
It's a mix. Some stuff you will recognize, like this.
Yeah, you have your your regular
Mandragora.
amanita, mandragora, snake's head, hemlock, like super basic stuff you can find in your backyard, maybe if you live in a village or something. But we'll pay a closer attention to flora exclusive to Rund, where
Yeah, hemlock is the extra here. It shouldn't be here. Everything else is fine.
No. There's some raven's eye there. I don't know. Yeah, I divided them in a weird way. But yeah,
Okay.
iron ivy is still in production.
So let's go
And-
ahead and talk about the stories behind this, guys.
Yes. So let's start with death flower. Death flower is a very interesting plant because we can only find it in the ancient forest, and it's a super extraordinarily beautiful looking tree that has very nice smelling flowers and fruit. And
What happens
But-
is different animals and creatures and humans and non-humans,
Yeah.
they go to this tree, they smell, they're like, wow.
beautiful.
And then they fall asleep at the roots of the tree. And the roots, as you can see, they're moving, they're like tentacles.
Yeah.
And they go into that animal or creature and suck the blood and basically suck the nutrients.
Yeah.
The only animal that is immune to that flower is the slook,
slook.
and they just go around and eat some droppings, and that's about it.
So from death flower you get death flower pollen and fruit of death flower. Of course, getting a fruit is a bit easier, that's why it's rare. And pollen is more difficult, and it's very rare.
When we say more difficult, it means that you need a higher level of astrology to do it. So you may have people who can collect the fruits, but you will not have yet disciples who can collect the pollen. And
Yeah.
eventually, you know where that flower is. You took some fruits, and now you need the pollen. And so it's time to level up someone to go and get it.
Yeah. So here are some concepts. And as I'm showing some concepts, you said that it's a good idea to send 2 disciples to get these items.
That's one of the things we discussed also today, is that there are
Yeah.
certain quests where you need several people performing it. And why did we do it? Because if you go alone, you'll just fall asleep and you will not be back. You'll die. If there are 2 disciples, one of them can cast a protective spell on the other who will be collecting it. And if something bad happens, then you use that spell to save the person.
Yeah, basically. Okay, next thing
And
is...
that's the other example. You do not go alone to collect sleep grass.
Yep. So sleepgrass is a very fun plant that inhabits the plains, and if you're tired from your journey and you want to sleep next to it, well, you might fall asleep.
And the thing here is
not
that
wake
death
up.
flower kills you.
Yeah.
Sleepgrass does not.
No, just
You
push
just-
it to sleep.
Well, and
Drowse
then you've got stinktails and gigglers coming around eating your face off.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know, don't blame sleepgrass. Blame Stinktails.
Blame yourself and your loneliness.
Yeah. We have several disciples traveling together. It's good protection. There's someone in the camp who will stay awake and cast a spell or use an alchemy to stay awake and stay alert.
So here's some concept art. So we started from having like a full picture of the plant, and then we made it more simplistic for the inventory items, and here the color
It's
solutions.
not supposed to look very bright. It's supposed to look, you know, all right.
But also not very usual. That's why we went with the blues and the greens and ended up with the final item. Next thing is the hidden root. That doesn't look very fancy, doesn't it? But at the same time, it's quite a rare ingredient.
It's
because
rare.
It's hard to find because it's underground.
You need a high level of monstrology herbology, sorry, to get it, because you need to identify the locations where it can grow. If you're into regular mushrooms, you know that sometimes you feel that this is the mushroom place, and then you get the mushroom. So that's the same thing here.
Yeah. So the design-wise, we wanted to make it look like a root that looks like a heart. So as you can see, this is the direction we sort of we're going for with the shape. And basically, he's the finished version again
It's a
with
rare
the
item.
colors, rare items.
So I would say mid-game to late game.
Yeah. And now the very interesting stuff with stories. We have lake nettles. Lake nettles inhabit lakes and rivers. And
they're connected to a creature, to waterlings who live there.
Yes, they're connected to the waterlings.
The thing about the lake nettles is that they sting you, but after a certain time, after exposure. So if you're exposed, nothing happens, and then after some time, your skin just starts to burn. So basically, your skin, first of all, numbs down, and then when this anesthesia wears off, it hits you.
Yeah.
And there's the beautiful waterlings.
Yeah, so the way that waterlings are using lake nettles, they make beautiful wreaths. And also, not only for themselves, but just for other people. They make these lake nettle crowns, they place them on rocks, and then people pick them up and put them on themselves, and then waterlings would just laugh as people are crying from pain from their burned
It's
skin.
a bit like our game designer, you know. He makes complex systems, and we pick them up and put them into the game, and then they hurt, and we cry.
Yeah, but at first it's fine. At first it's like, yeah, nice complex systems, good
first
job.
First is like 38 diseases. Good job.
Sounds good, and then you look at it in practice and you're like, oh my god, it burns.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are some colors. Sort of wanted to make it look aquatic, but not too crazy. And we went with number 4. And there you go. As you can see, in this case, we started out with a more detailed illustration, then made it into a simplified item here. Next up, we have Eye Flower. Another interesting story with the Eye Flower takes us to back in the day of the old mages.
They didn't have web cameras, they had eye flowers.
Yeah, it's creepy though. If you're a creeper, if you're a total mage creep, and you want to spy on your neighbors, you would grow eye flowers.
And plant them. They became rare because no mages no longer help to propagate them, so they only kind of go, you know, they grow what they're used to grow, and that's about it.
Plus, as you can remember, that people of Rund hate all this magical nonsense, so if they probably see eye flower, they try to destroy it.
If,
you know?
In the olden times, they used to forage it by putting something over the flower and then leaving for a day and then coming back in the night and cutting it off so that the eye doesn't really see who cut it off. And this way they try to avoid the wrath of the mage.
Oh yes. Here are some designs. This is trying to put a complex design into a small inventory icon is pretty complicated, so some simplification has to occur. These are some colors.
I think one thing that we're good at is developing the world of runes, and then, you know, we need to balance things out otherwise.
There you go, the final version.
Well done.
And now the demon mushroom. The
demon mushroom is a mushroom that has a demon inside.
Yeah. I mean,
arguably.
it doesn't have a demon inside.
Who
Okay,
said
people
that? I
over-
mean, who said, did you bring one to your home?
Let's just say that the legend says, the legend of Rune says that every demon mushroom has a demon inside of it.
Yeah.
And the old granny of Rund will be like, if you bring a demon mushroom into your home, it's gonna bring misfortune to your family. So what you do, you take the demon mushroom, you cut it into small pieces, and you throw it into the fire.
Every development team has a person who wants to add more features. And when they do that, you take their ideas.
No, take them physically, you cut them.
No, you take their ideas, you print them out, you cut them away, and you tell them not to do it again.
Yeah, and put them in fire.
Every games development granny knows that.
Yeah. So yeah, here are some concepts. The demon mushroom is pretty big. It grows up to 20 centimeters in height. So this one looked kind of smallish, so we decided to grow it and make the face look more demonic, almost like a clown in E.T. It. So there you go. Here's the final mushrooms in ancient forest and swamps. Next thing is the exciting bubble herb. Why is bubble herb so exciting, Sergey?
It grows in the distorted lands, and distorted lands have two biome-specific dangers. One danger is the pollution in the air, and you deal with this by casting a protective dome that prevents the bad air from coming in. And the second problem is the sort of radiation of chaos that goes through the whole thing, and
it can distort you.
Yes, and damages you, and then you die.
Yeah.
But as you die, it's okay, because you hear fluters singing.
Yeah.
And you also see beautiful bubble herbs floating by. And as you drift away yourself, you're like, life was okay.
So but basically, bubble herbs, they spread their seed through bubbles. It's really cute.
I got to see bubble herbs.
Yes.
And now I die.
Yes. So we're looking through a lot of colors of this bubble herb. It's sort of floating on its stem. I wanted to add a more magical element to it, basically. And we were also discussing a lot of ways how to make this color look not just transparent, but more like a soap bubble. Just to make the illustration of the plant itself more exciting. So there you go. This is the final version of bubble herb. So with bubble herb, we end our little journey through the flora.
I think we should make someone like a disciple die in the distorted lands and say stuff like, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
A ghost. Yeah.
Bubble herbs on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched fluters glitter in the dark near the distorted gate. All those moments will be lost in time.
Islands
like
and
that's a quote from Blade Runner. Just adopted to our game.
I thought, why?
That was Rutger Hauer's edit of the Blade Runner quote.
I was like, why did you become so poetic all of a sudden?
It's Rutger. It's someone who just goes next to a black pool and says, I've seen things. Yes. Anyway, as far as the world of Rune is concerned, everything's great, everything's fine. As far as the game is concerned, either visit the forum and read the feedback from people who played right now.
People of Rune are doing fine.
Yeah.
The world is blossoming. The slooks are roaming.
They're fattened after the summer. They're getting ready for the autumn, for the festive season of burning a mage on the stake.
Yes.
To get warm.
Yes.
As far as the game is concerned, we'll do an update next week that will include a lot of changes as we go back to this direction. And one more time, this is the game we're doing right now. So that's going to be the primary focus for us.
It'll be a PowerPoint style text game. Yep, a PowerPoint style.
we really are very angry and disappointed with ourselves for getting distracted by all those complex mechanics and features.
But also very positive.
Also very positive in the sense that we will go out as soon as we can in a few weeks. I mean, we're on a very product that deserves.
We're on a good direction, I think, because there were a lot of discussions and.
Like last week's Thursday was all screaming and being unhappy. Friday was lots of coffee. For the weekend, we just took it easy, and then Monday was another 8-hour meeting, and then yesterday another 8-hour meeting, even longer actually, because it was well into the night. And then right now we're there, and I'm gonna finish this and go to the meeting where we plan the steps to here
completing this list
from the Cat build. So thank you for watching.
Thank you.
It's been exciting to have the audience as we face the biggest crisis since we started this game, and that's the crisis of concept and vision and mechanics and balancing, and we'll see what happens.
Tune in next week for a...
And when we launch and we sell 1 million copies, we'll go back to this stream and say, you look at those people, the hurt in their eyes, the sadness, that was the price they had to pay to get their shit right.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that we don't get bold before
we're
that
still
happens.
there. Thank you.
We want to keep our hair. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.
Thank you. See ya.